Hello, guys, and welcome to Odds Bundesliga Matchday 21st. And we have our German expert, as always, Radek Vegas. Hello, Radek.
Hello, Eduardo. And hey, outside in the world, let's have an awesome next game day in the Bundesliga after the Champions League games. Will be exciting.
Yes, and this is a live video, so of course, ask any question to Radek. He's going to be very happy to answer your questions. Remember, of course, to press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. And our first game is on Friday, as always, in the Bundesliga, and we have Augsburg, Hoffenheim, important, Radek, for the relegation battle, and I'm surprised to see these odds for Hoffenheim because they look absolutely crap. They are losing games. The last one against Leverkusen. Last time they traveled, they got 5 against Bochum, and because Augsburg, of course, they are not a great team, far from this, but at home they beat recently Leverkusen and Gladbach 1-0.
Yeah, and Hoffenheim has a new coach with Materazzo, who was coach of Stuttgart and was sacked in this season because Stuttgart was not achieving the results they want. And at the end, Materazzo is a good coach, I think. He managed to keep Stuttgart in the league last year, which was a good point. And Hoffenheim, yeah, they should achieve way more as they are at the moment. And even Augsburg is one position in front of them in the standings on position 13, and Hoffenheim is 14th. And normally I would say Hoffenheim should strike back someday because they have the potential and the players. And Augsburg is good at home. They won their last 2 games at home 1-0. When we all didn't really expect it. And so it's another hard game for Hoffenheim, and we can't bet on them. But I'm far away betting on Augsburg as well because, they show always complete different faces and we don't expect them to win anything. But they beat Leverkusen at home and Gladbach at home 1-0. And 2 teams which are way better than Hoffenheim at the moment, as Leverkusen also beat Hoffenheim. So if we have a look at the odds of 2.75 on Augsburg, we should see value there because we have an opponent like Hoffenheim who is completely out of form. But I don't really trust Augsburg. So we have 2 options. We can back up a potential draw with Asian handicap 0 on Augsburg. We get odds of 1.97. And maybe what I like most here is a tip on a draw because the odds are way better with 3.9 in a game where it's just gambling who wins the game. And in this situation, we should go for the biggest possible odd, and we have 3.9, which is great here.
All right, for sure not going for the Hoffenheim victory. I think only 2 points in the last 10 games for Hoffenheim, as you've said, completely out of form. Let's jump into the games we have on Saturday. Gladbach, Bayern Munich, and this one is interesting because the recent head-to-head between these 2 teams is rare. We've seen Bayern Munich being unable to beat Gladbach in the last 4 games, including a cup game last season ending 5-0. But of course, this Gladbach is impossible to trust right now. Even getting 4 in Berlin is absolutely awful, or drawing against Schalke. And because we have Bayern absolutely informed, back-to-back victories in the Bundesliga, but also taking in consideration that they play Champions League.
Yeah, a lot of good points, and I really can't explain why Bayern is always losing points against Gladbach. It's the most dangerous team for Bayern Munich, I think, and I only can explain it with a rivalry in the 1970s and the tension the audience is giving to this game because of the names. And nowadays, Bayern Munich shouldn't have problems with a team like Gladbach, who's in position 10. And as you said, they are kind of unpredictable because they're playing a lot of bad games and then they shoot out an awesome game. They have the potential for sure, but they don't show it a lot. And I think they only can play good games against really good opponents, and Bayern Munich for sure is the best opponent they can get. And in this situation, when Bayern has to face Paris, and they might be kind of rotating, they might be a kind of exhausted after the game, they might even be frustrated if they not win this game. Gladbach again has huge chances to improve their record against Bayern Munich, as we see 6 wins in the last 13 games. No other team in the world can say that against Bayern Munich. So the odds on Gladbach are tempting, and I think in the whole game, Bayern Munich can win. I like 2 bets here. One is betting on Bayern Munich wins from behind, that Gladbach might take the lead at home against a tired Bayern Munich squad, and at the end, Bayern Munich will show their class and win 2-1. Odds for that are 7 points around. And the other thing I like is just going in the first half, that Gladbach is not losing the game in the first half. This is against what Bayern showed in their last games, where they had a great start off in the first half against Wolfsburg and Bochum. But I think at home, Gladbach with exhausted Bayern or tired Munich players, I think this is a nice bet, and you double your money if Gladbach is not behind after the first 45 minutes, and we get odds of 2.0.
All right, several options for a very good game and a tricky game for Bayern Munich. Usually when they play against Gladbach is shocking, no, seeing this head-to-head between these two teams. But of course, this season Gladbach, they are 10th in the standings, and they've been a roller coaster during the season. Next game, we have Stuttgart-Cologne, and here also the odds show us Stuttgart as favorites, surprising because they are now in relegation spots. They are penultimate in the standings, another defeat against Freiburg, before against Werder Bremen. Last victory was in November, so all are bad numbers, and they are facing Cologne that was able to beat Frankfurt in the last game.
Yes, this was a small surprise, or even a bigger one. And the most surprising thing is that Cologne is only in position 11 after not losing a game in 23. They had 5 Bundesliga games now, and they collected 9 points out of it, drawing against the best teams with Bayern Munich and Leipzig, no matter if they played at Munich at a 1-1 or at home against Leipzig with a 1-1, or beating Frankfurt, all playing teams in the Champions League last round of last 16. And so Cologne is only position 11 because they had really tough opponents and they didn't win these games. But hey, who expect a Cologne to win against them? And so I don't really understand why Cologne is the underdog with odds of 3.0 here. That makes absolutely no sense against a really bad team like Stuttgart. Bad not in the playing style or in their players, but bad in collecting points. And that's why Stuttgart is only on position 16 or 17, and they are 17. really, really in danger to be relegated in the second league. So the odds on Cologne are just brilliant, and I would say Asian handicap plus 0.25. That means if there's a draw, we even win the half of our bet, the half of the odds of 1.8, so would be 0.4. But if Cologne wins this game regularly, we win at 1.8. So really one of the best bets on this game day.
Great, always good to have an insurance in case of a draw, but Stuttgart, they look awful in direct spots to go to Bundesliga 2 since Hertha won the last game. Tino is going for Stuttgart, not to lose, but this is a
Pure
risk.
gambling. Huh?
Gambling, no, as you are showing, especially analyzing what both teams are doing in the next games. Perhaps if you wanna go for a team not losing and it's still a surprise, we have the next one, Radek, Bochum. Freiburg, of course, Freiburg, they are favorites because they won the last game against Stuttgart, indeed, and because they are in Champions League spots. We all know that they are doing a great season, but away they are suffering a lot. They lost the last 3 games, and Bochum, despite being in the bottom of the table, still out of the relegation spots, we know that they are making a fortress of their stadium. They won the last 5 home games.
Yes, that is awesome for a team like Bochum, winning against Gladbach, against Union Berlin, who was number 1 at this moment, I think, and Eintracht Frankfurt, Hoffenheim at home, scoring 5 goals against Hoffenheim. So, this is called kind of home strength or trainer effect, because they changed their coach from Thomas Reis to Lech, and since then Bochum is able to play really good football at home, and this can be interesting, as you mentioned that Freiburg has problems playing away sometimes, getting a lot of goals against Dortmund and Wolfsburg, but these 2 teams are way another league than Bochum. So in a normal day, Freiburg, should be able to beat Bochum in 50% of the games, and no matter what Bochum did in the past. And I don't really like to bet on streaks, as we all know the trend is your friend till it bends in the end, and so it's sometimes the end of a trend. And after so many victories at home of Bochum, against Freiburg, I don't trust them, and I also don't think that's a wise decision to bet on Freiburg here as well, as they are not the best away team. But I would say Freiburg should not lose this game. If we see a draw, it's not very surprising, but with a little bit of advantage for the better team is Freiburg, and that's why Asian Handicap 0 or draw no bet on Freiburg with odds of 1.6 or even 1.7, depends on where you're betting, is the best thing in my eyes, knowing that Bochum is a good home team.
All right, going for Freiburg, of course, they have more quality. They are playing European football this season, and we have Amir Hossein saying that Bochum is unpredictable. Well, for sure, we all thought that they were going to Bundesliga too, but they are winning the home games, and they are right now safe. Next game, Wolfsburg, Leipzig, with Wolfsburg, another of these teams that is full of quality, but very difficult to trust. They are 7th in the standings, goalless draw against Schalke. Before that, they lost to Bayern, they lost to Werder Bremen, and this is a tough one also, Radek, because Leipzig, they are coming from a defeat against Union Berlin in the last game. They are playing Champions League against Man City in the following game. But we also know that they've improved a lot traveling recently. They've been winning the away games as well in the Bundesliga.
And I concentrate on the recent games here. The last 2 games, they couldn't win against Cologne and against Union Berlin. They even lost at home. And in this situation, and concentrating and focusing on the Champions League game against Manchester City, I think Leipzig won't play 100% in this game, and should be happy if they collect 1 point at Wolfsburg, as they are not 100% into a must win here. And on the other hand, Wolfsburg also had not really great results in the past, But before the last games, now they have a streak of 4 games, including a cup where they lost against Union Berlin. 4 games in a row they couldn't win. But I think they also showed a lot of skills in some games in the season. Before they had a long streak of winning games, and I think they might come back against a challenging opponent like Leipzig, as we all know that they had a really good game against Bayern Munich where they only lost the game in the first 20 minutes, and after it they really had a great home game against Bayern Munich. So I also expect them to be highly motivated against Leipzig, because for Wolfsburg it's the only competition they are in after losing in the cup and not being in the Champions League, while Leipzig is still in the cup, still in the Champions League, and so they have triple work to do. At the end, I like a draw, 3.8 here, or maybe Asian handicap on Wolfsburg, but the draw pays off more, and I think this game doesn't need a winner, and that's why a draw is good.
Okay, Leipzig playing in the Champions League, the same as Eintracht Frankfurt. Next game is Frankfurt Werder Bremen, surprising defeat, as we've mentioned before, for Frankfurt in Cologne, especially because they lost 3-0. They are playing Napoli, and they are very strong when they are playing at home. Last 3 Bundesliga games were victories, and Werder Bremen, Radek, is one of these teams that is very hard to predict. They lost to Dortmund. This is normal at home, but before they were able to beat Stuttgart or Wolfsburg, for instance.
Yeah, this is kind of a really great comeback because the start for Werder Bremen the year was really horrible after losing against Cologne with 7 goals. And so they really showed that this was just an exception and that they are really not a bad team, and they are still in a really good spot, position 9, which is awesome for Bremen, and losing against a really hot Dortmund at the moment is not a bad thing. So I really think that Bremen can take a point at least here again, as Frankfurt has to play in the Champions League 3 days later against Napoli. And in the past, if Frankfurt had an important Champions League or international game, I think they were not 100% focused on the Bundesliga. And additional, I think they might a little bit suffering because they lost against Cologne that high, and they might be not really fit at the moment. So the draw is also a really good thing here with odds of 4.3 or 4.7, depends on where you bet. Compare odds on Oddspedia and you get the best out of it. And if I bet on a draw, I only bet 1/4 of a unit to win 1 unit. So lower the amount you bet, so you don't risk too much at a dangerous bet, because also Frankfurt can for sure win the game, and at the end the risk reward for a draw in my eyes is better.
Well, we saw last season Eintracht Frankfurt struggling in the Bundesliga when they play in Europe, and they won the Europa League, actually. But this season, they've been quite good in both competitions, even if right now they are out of the Champions League spots in the Bundesliga in position number 6. These are the games we have for Saturday. On Sunday, we have Union Berlin Schalke. This is because Union Berlin, they are playing on Thursday in the Europa League, a key game against Ajax, but they've been very reliable in this 2023. They've won absolutely everything, in great form, still chasing Bayern Munich, even beating Leipzig on the road in the last game. And Schalke, Radek, surprisingly, 3 goalless draws in a row. Despite keeping clean sheets in the last 3 games, they are still the second team conceding more goals in this Bundesliga.
Yes, and impressive run of Schalke,
Yeah.
3 times without goals. That's awesome, but I also think this run comes to an end now, as we all know that Union Berlin is one of the best home teams in the league. And the only thing can be that they are really also a bit exhausted after the Ajax game. But yeah, why should we be afraid of Schalke? I think we have 3 draws against teams where they were, yeah, the teams were not in their best situation, and Union Berlin is a bit better at the moment than Wolfsburg or Mönchengladbach. And the quality of Union Berlin is they know how to win games. And maybe it's not too easy, Amir Hossein, but I think 1.6 for Union Berlin is is quite okay. It's not my favorite bet and not the best bet on this game day because the odds are really low, and we know that in the Bundesliga a lot of surprisings can happen, and especially in the last game days, it was really just rolling the dices. And but yeah, we have to stick to our plan, and this is just betting on a really good team against a really bad team. So 1.6 for Union Berlin win. Go for it.
Yeah, the odds are all right. Actually, 1.66. Schalke is toothless. Indeed, they are unable to score goals in the last 3 games, and only 14 goals scored in this Bundesliga. This is pitiful, to be honest. And the next game is a similar one. We have Dortmund, Hertha, but the odds are lower actually for Dortmund, 1.38 to win this game. They are playing in the Champions League against Chelsea, and they've won also everything in the Bundesliga since the World Cup. The thing is that Hertha, at least they are back alive from the dead, because they thrashed Gladbach in the last game. For one, they are out of the direct relegation spots, but well, it's difficult to trust Hertha as well, Radek. Away, they are awful.
Yeah, and I don't know how they did it against Gladbach to end their horrible streak, and maybe they also end the streak of Dortmund now. And the odds on Dortmund are really bad, and I I don't want to bet on small odds because you lose more than you can win in such situations. Even it's the obvious thing that Dortmund at home should beat Hertha for sure. But yeah, there are several problems, as you mentioned the Chelsea game, and you mentioned that Hertha strike back against Gladbach. Maybe this is a game changer for Hertha, which is yeah, not a really, they have not really bad players. They only didn't know how to play together, I think, and maybe they found a way now. And uh, yeah, needless to say that Dortmund at home should be better. That's why I think the best odds are to go on a Dortmund win in the first half. So you get better odds of 1.8. I think it's better than risking the full 90 minutes. If you want to bet on Dortmund, I think this is a better option than on the full-time bet, as both are highly risky, and you win more in this situation.
All right, and we have one game left. Is Leverkusen Mainz. Also, Leverkusen playing European football against Monaco in the Europa League on Thursday, and they were able to bounce back in the Bundesliga with a victory against Hoffenheim away, because before they lost to Augsburg and Dortmund. For them to beat Mainz, Radek, is 1.84. Mainz, away, they are also poor, only 1 point in the last 4 Bundesliga games.
Yeah, if you have a look at the standings, both teams are almost equal. So Leverkusen scored 33 goals, Mainz scored 30 goals, both conceded 32 goals. And to make it short, this can be a draw for sure, because Leverkusen has the international game, but they also showed some improvement in the last game. So they managed to climb a bit, and now they're in their best position in this year, I think, on position 8, as they were starting at the last place in the season, and step by step they climb higher in the standings, and they are a team with a really good roster, and they might go to the international spots after all, and so they have to beat Mainz. And I remember the last game against Mainz, I think, was a 3-0 in this year. I think it was the first victory of Leverkusen in this year, after missing some games in the first few weeks in the league. So I think they might remember that, and they're playing at home, and they should beat a team like Mainz, who's not a great away team, and the odds of 1.8 are good enough for that, I think, to back up a team like Leverkusen.
Okay, Radek, this is it for our Bundesliga show. Just 2 things left. Of course, your safe bet for this match day.
Yes, safe is for sure that Cologne is not losing against Stuttgart. And if they lose against Stuttgart, it's not our fault. It's just the fault of Cologne. And I like the odds. We have a lot of good points to trust Cologne more than be afraid of Stuttgart. So my favorite bet is this one.
And your 𝐿𝐴𝐴, you are giving us lately risky 𝐿𝐴𝐴s, sometimes been correct, actually. So giving us a very good return. Which one is your 𝐿𝐴𝐴 this week?
Yeah, and I go for it with a lot of risk again. The games I pointed out, I don't want to make a kind of a safe 𝐿𝐴𝐴, because there is none. I look for teams which might win their games, and I would say that we go for higher odds with Asian handicap -1 for it. So I would say Cologne -1, Freiburg -1, and Leverkusen -1. If these 3 teams win with 2 goals or more in advantage, we get odds of 45. So yeah, hope the best. And
this is a good present for Valentine's Day or for whatever you want. We always say that if you want to be cautious, of course, you can go for the opposite, Asian handicap 0. And in case there is a draw, you get your money back. But if you are ambitious, as Radek is, you can go for the Asian handicap -1 and get this amazing return, 10 euros for 450 euros. This is a lot of money. Well, Radek, thanks. Thanks everyone also for watching. Just remember to press the like and subscribe to our channel to listen to all the tips from Radek Vegas. Thanks, Radek. See you next week.
Thank you. Have a good week.